Welcome to the Personal Injury Law Show, viewers. My name's Tony Carbone, Personal Injury Lawyer of Quarter of a Century Plus. Next to me, Nuncio Tartaglia, up-and-coming superstar in the law, but young partner in the law firm, Nuncio.
I haven't got the 25 years yet, but we're trying to get there anyway. So good evening, guys.
And I've also got Neil McGuinness, a licensed private investigator, circumstance investigator. Neil, what's that mean?
Oh, well, basically my job is in insurance investigations to gather the facts as people remember them. I would go and meet with people that can tell us something about what did or didn't happen, write that down as a statement for them to sign, maybe take photographs, measurements, video footage, and collect documents that are relevant to the case.
But thanks for that little spill there, Neil. Nunc, I just wanted to...
Yeah, before we get on to all that, what's in the news, Tony?
Well, interestingly, what's in the news is you.
How is that?
Well, there's this fellow here that you're representing. I was KO'd at Crown, says patron.
Yes.
That's your client.
That is my client.
Is that right?
Yes, it is.
And Crown's been in the news quite a bit.
They've had a bad run, Tony. There's been a lot of negative press against Crown for, you'd say, the over abuse of its security guards and the impact on patrons.
And these are privately, security guards aren't actually employed by the Crown, are they?
Crown, from what I understand, have outsourced a lot of their security, but also they do have some in-house. But I think the outsourced security guard in this instance was the issue.
I guess what's made this issue big is the fact that a fellow recently died after being belted.
Yep.
And so this story of yours went in the paper the day after that.
Yes, and I think there's been a few others after that, and so they're all coming out now in the pipeline.
And then, Nuncio, I was quoted as well.
We're both in the paper then.
No, but look, the point I was making here is that these bouncers and other people that belt other patrons, what you've got to watch out for is not only is the criminal law going to get you, you're going to end up in jail for these assaults, but you're going to have a judgment hanging over your head for many years, 15 years as a matter of fact.
That's right.
And they can come after you for your property at any time. So you've got a lot to lose. So think twice before you carry on like that.
And just quickly on these cases, in the cases where there's an intentional tort or intentional act, Tony, the 5% in public liability is not required, so it's easy to sue.
That's exactly right. And sadly, there seems to be a growing number, there's a growing trend of assault cases out there. So,
there is, and I think because the spotlight on the nightclubs and the nightclub scene is there's a high spotlight on it.
It does seem pretty violent, but anyway, Let's hope that changes. Oh, actually, just before we go, one of the things I was interested in was getting glass out of these clubs, and instead of having glasses and bottles, maybe just plastic cups now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, it's sad if we have to get to that point, Tony, but it may get to that point.
Yeah, well, I think it's important. It's one way to protect people from slashings.
Yeah.
Now, getting back to you, Neil. So you've told us what you do.
Yep.
You've told us how you go about collating information. Now, just curiously, people don't understand this and don't know whether they have to or don't have to, but can you force an injured person to talk to you?
No, absolutely not. I don't have inquisitorial powers, but then few people in Australia do. The police don't have inquisitorial powers either. People may only need to speak to me if they wish to.
And so if you ring up a client, you say, look, I've been engaged by CGU or one of the other insurers, they want me to take a statement, they should know that if they don't want to, they don't have to speak to you. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's optional. But one of the questions I'm also required to ask, Tony, is are they legally represented?
Okay.
And if they're legally represented, I have to ask their solicitor's permission to speak with them, or they may be represented by a union, in which case I have to deal with the union.
Neil, just on that,
Neil, what's the usual response when you call the solicitors?
Some firms routinely say no as a matter of course. Others will allow it to be done often, particularly if it's at their office. And
That's
it's the same with the unions. But a lot will depend on whether the person knows me or not, I think.
Okay. Nuncio, sadly, a lot of these injured people talk to the investigators and don't even read their statements.
They do, and it said it starts trouble from day one, and their claims got on a back foot already, and that's why it's important that you've got a lawyer involved from day one, because they will dictate the process and really how it should go.
And if they don't get the statement right, correct that is, it puts them on the back foot, obviously.
Yep.
Now, Neil, importantly for the public and the clients out there, what should they look out for?
What should they look out for?
Give us examples.
Give an example. Well, I think the key point, Tony, is that a famous person once said, innocents need never fear public scrutiny. And so basically, if you're telling the truth and you're being scrupulously honest, you've got nothing to worry about. But if you're pretending or trying to put someone on, then you're at risk of being caught. A lot of people, in my experience, are not half as clever as they think they are and too clever by half. And so I can give you a few examples.
Give us an example of a Facebook case.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Facebook, particularly with the younger people, quite often you find interesting information that way. I remember once investigating a young man, worked in heavy industry, claimed not to be able to work because of a serious back injury. Googled him, found him on Facebook, and there was here's a picture of me taking a high mark at Werribee last Saturday. Clearly a remarkable man to be able to play well with that bad injury, Tony.
And I guess if you want to have a go at playing footy, he should have put in his affidavit or something, but still, it detracts from having a serious injury, doesn't it?
That's right. Are you finding, Neil, that the social media is becoming a large proponent of these investigations now?
Yeah, quite often it's a useful source of information for us, and I guess, well, you would have a view about how you would want your clients to interact with social media, but yes, it is an important source of information for us. Sometimes, however, it can justify what the person's saying. You know, one employer thought that the woman who claimed a knee injury was a shock, but I found a photograph of her in crutches at a wedding on Facebook, so that tended to vindicate the worker.
But that'd be a rarity, wouldn't it, Neil? More often than not, you're finding people that are doing the wrong thing.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, it's hard to generalise, but yeah, I mean, obviously you tend to remember the ones where people are doing the wrong thing more often. Yeah.
I think in our case, what concerns us as plaintiff lawyers is consistency. You really want your client to tell a consistent story to a doctor, stick to the affidavits that they swear, and the problem we're finding, and this is what Neil's looking out for, he's trying to find people that have been inconsistent with what they say.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other examples you've got, isn't there, Neil? Give us some juicy ones that you've come across over the years.
Well, just this week was again working for a defendant firm, and the person who claims a bad back injury says he's not been able to play football for 3 years. Well, I googled his football club and found that he'd played 12 of their senior games this year, and in fact had kicked over 20 goals. So
he's doing all right then.
And yes, and
He's getting close to the best and fairest.
That's right, and he even played the day before he swore his affidavit. So
That's
he's got a
tragic.
short memory.
As a plaintiff lawyer, isn't that really disconcerting?
Oh, look, that would damage your case.
It's shattering, isn't it?
I don't think you can get back from that, Tony.
And mind you, the no-win, no-fee firms, which the majority are, they'll charge him for doing that work, won't they? It's in
'cause
breach of our agreement.
You breached a retainer.
We've got to go to a sponsors break, viewers, so please stay tuned. Don't go away. We'll be back very shortly. Thank you.